The Slippers, London LGBT Film Festival Q&A. The Slippers, director Morgan White, production Morgan White, Rice Thomas, screen Derek Legwensky, Morgan White, Canada 2016. Production Code Tricon Films and Television. A documentary about Dorothy's slippers. Morgan White lost his job through the making of this film. Tricon Films and Television went bankrupt. The bank allowed the film to be screened at a few film festivals. Morgan White was flown from Canada for the only British screening. Halfway through the film, there was an electricity fault.
Very sorry about that, everyone.
I can answer any questions. I guess if anyone has any questions, I can fill you in on what you've missed.
When did you make the film? When did you start and finish the
So where does the story end?
No, when did you start and finish filming?
What drew you to the film? When did you start filming it? How long of your life did this take?
It took 2 years to make, from start to finish, from like contacting Reese, who was the guy that found out about Kent. So he was kind of the genesis for all of this. He wrote a book back in the 80s. I read the book, fell in love with the story, and contacted him and basically said if he says no, I'm not going to make it. But he said yes, and so I made it. And it took about 2 years from start to finish to get it done. We went through a lot of different things. The part that I'm sad that you're going to miss is so the divers that came kind of randomly in the middle, that pays off. So the shoes got stolen from that museum, and as best as everyone knows, some kids drunkenly broke into the museum one night. They grabbed the shoes and they threw them in that mine pit. So we sent divers looking for them. They did not turn up, or else everyone would have known that, because it would have been big news. But that was kind of like the end. That's where we kind of ended the film. So
I mean, if I have so many questions, and I'm so sorry that this has happened. But I guess you partly answered that, but in the sense of like what drew you to the story, because it's an amazing story. You just said about the book.
I think really the thing that drew me to it was Kent. Hollywood is it for me when it comes to cinema. The good, the bad, whatever it is. And the studio system is the best iteration of Hollywood there ever was. For all of the shit that happened at the studios, for all of the bad things that happened, they created the greatest art that America ever created in terms of the cinematic art. And it was really sad to me that they wanted to just divest themselves of it. And when I read the book, I was just totally drawn to the idea that Kent was like, I don't give a shit. I'm going to go in and steal all of this stuff. He literally stole it. He stole things from all of the studios. Literally 80% of what is out there he took. And that's not an inflated figure. That is 100% true. He went into every studio and just grabbed whatever he could. All the Maryland dresses from Fox, everything. Because the studios at that time were literally burying, like they were bulldozing things and just getting rid of it as much as possible. They didn't want to deal with it. They didn't want to think about it. It was just space, and they didn't care.
And do you think that kind of like Kent had this idea that this was going to make money, or do you think
he cared about the money?
He was about protecting the legacy, like you.
His partner, who we don't really talk about, mainly because so much of this story is hearsay from a lot of different people. Not everybody is alive. In fact, mostly everyone is dead. And so his partner, Ron, who the two of them kind of worked all the studios together, Ron was the business guy. He knew that this stuff would be worth money. But Kent didn't care about that. He knew that they were important, and he wanted to save them, whatever it was. So he would do whatever it took. There's great stories about, Debbie found some stuff, and so Kent knew that Debbie had some things, and they met in a parking lot and went through her trunk, and they traded things back and forth, and like that's the type of world it was back then, and that's what drew Kent to it too. I think he liked the hunt. I think that was really his thing.
Because the bit in the documentary where you talk about him finding the shoes, and it was a ray of light coming down, and then there's obviously like he just got lucky.
He just found the shoes. Yeah, and I think nobody really knew where the shoes were at that point, but that's not necessarily to say that, I think it was more that nobody kept any records, and whatever records existed had been long destroyed by
Yeah.
then. That's why nobody knows how many shoes were
That
ever
was going to
created.
be one of my questions. How many were created? We don't know.
I've heard up to 14 pairs were made. That seems absurd.
Yeah.
There's 8 dresses, so it
So
makes
maybe
sense that there might be 8 shoes.
Shoes.
But that's the best guess that anyone's ever made.
So there's still a few. There's still pairs out there then.
There
if was
could be
8.
still pairs out there. It is entirely possible that somebody's grandma is going to die, and they're going to go through the attic, and there's going to be an authentic pair of shoes.
Yeah.
That could 100% happen.
Mm.
It also could be that the shoes that were stolen from the museum were not the real shoes, and when Michael dies, the real shoes might show up.
And his insurers probably will thank
Yeah.
you.
That seems likely.
Question.
It honestly
Really?
does seem likely.
Yeah.
I think it will happen.
Question at the back.
Morgan, I'm so sorry. I'm going to ask you a very boring technical question.
No,
It
that's
goes like
fine.
this. Is it possible to see this movie online or DVD because of the circumstances?
Yeah.
Is it so? There you go. Boring question, but I do want to.
The short answer to that is no. It's currently owned by a bank because the company that I produced it through went bankrupt. And so this is probably it, as shitty as that sounds. Yeah. As sad as that is, it may come out at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know. If a company buys the catalog, then they might put it out, and that's my hopes that someday it'll just wind up on Netflix at some point.
Can I
So,
follow?
fingers crossed.
Can I just follow that up with a request? Would, in spite of what we were told a few moments ago, would you lobby the BFI at some point
Yeah.
for a rescreening?
If you guys want to
We
rescreen
will
it, you're
try.
more
I mean,
than
we will
welcome
try.
to.
I mean, obviously, we program in advance, but we will do all I will personally see to it. I
It's
will
yours
try.
if you want.
Yeah, I will try my best. Programs are logged 3 months in advance in this place. It's just the way that it works when it's not festival. But I will do my best to get this screened again.
Thank you.
I really will, because I mean, for God's sake, I own a T-shirt that says "Friend of Dorothy." I mean, you can't see it, but I have got a bracelet that's got all the characters from The Wizard of Oz on it, which is actually from Toronto, where you're from, which is a weird
That's
thing that we
really
kind of like
random.
found out earlier on. So I will try for this because I love everything about Oz and I love this documentary. So heartbroken that you've not seen it all. Okay, we're going to go at the back there and then come forward. So right, yeah.
Kent Warner just sounds like an incredibly fascinating character in his own right, and I must admit it's the first time I've ever heard of him. What happened to him? What happened in terms of his collecting? I mean, you kind of know that 80% of what's out there probably started with him.
Tragically, Kent was one of the first people in Los Angeles to die from HIV. His family took a bunch of the stuff. There's this story about, and I don't actually put it in the film, so you'll get this little extra tidbit. There's a story about a garage sale where his mom, who didn't believe that any of the stuff that he was doing made any sense at all, just decided to have a garage sale. And all of the collectors went. And so most of his stuff is with other people who cherish it. Or it's at museums. In fact,
Yeah.
a lot of the museums that have stuff, things that came, there was a costume thing at the Victorian Albert.
There is, yeah.
Some of
Some
the
of
stuff
that would have been Kent's.
was Kent's, or Kent somehow
Yeah.
got it there, or stole it so that it got there.
Stuff with it.
Yeah, so his stuff is out there. If you
Yeah.
go to any costume exhibit and see something from the golden age of Hollywood, chances are you're looking at something that Kent stole.
Did he get rich of it?
No, he didn't get rich. When it came time to pay doctor's bills, he sold his shoes, and he only sold them for $12,000, which was not as much as he wanted to. That pair then in turn sold for $2.2 million to Steven Spielberg and Leonardo DiCaprio, and they
Are they
donated
the
them
ones that are donated
to the Academy.
Yeah.
So the Academy now has Kent's pair. They will be the front and center piece of their museum whenever they get their museum up and running, which I think they actually are going to do.
They are, yeah.
It sounds like they're actually going to do it. They've spent millions and millions trying to do it, and I think they will actually complete it, which is great. because Hollywood doesn't have a museum for any of this stuff. They didn't care. For years, Debbie tried.
And that's what's so great about this is also you're telling the story of like what Debbie Reynolds was trying to do, which it's kind of been forgotten. I mean, I kind of know about it because of just being a film historian and everything, but it's not really known that once she kind of like stopped making as many movies and everything, she was like hell bent on.
Oh yeah, she got every major actor to donate stuff. She worked with people to get money to build a museum, but every time she got enough money or she got somewhere close, one of her husbands stole the money from her or gambled it away, and that's basically why she never got her museum. It's a really sad story. And then she went bankrupt and had to sell it all. So she had an auction which netted $27 million. $4 million of that being the subway dress from the Marilyn Monroe War.
Oh, in
7 years. Yeah.
Wow. 4 million?
Yeah, I think it was 4 million. Wow. Something like that.
Cool. We had a question here. Yeah.
I wanted to ask if you did chat to Debbie Reynolds, because we saw lots of archive footage.
I tried every possible way to get Debbie. Sadly, Debbie was sick at the time, which I think we all know what happened in the end, sadly. She just wasn't feeling up to it. I did talk to her on the phone. I have absolutely no clue what she said to me because I was just completely starstruck. It was really weird. So I asked Todd, so I had interviewed Todd, and I got to Todd. So Todd was the gatekeeper. That's what everybody told me. You got to interview Todd, and then maybe you'll get Debbie. Like, okay, fine, I'll go and interview Todd. And Todd turned out to be great, and we got along really well. And he's amazing. And he was really helpful and really kind and really, really energetic about everything. And I think that he hadn't talked about all this stuff in a long time, so he was really into it. And he said, okay, when you get back to Canada, give me a shout. We'll figure out how to get my mom into this. And so I emailed him when I got back, and he literally wrote back, here's the number, 3 o'clock. What? I have to call Debbie Reynolds? Okay. So I sat at work, and for like an hour, I was just completely lost. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to say to her. I don't know how I'm going to deal with this. Because Debbie was it when it came to the golden age of Hollywood. There was no one left. And Singing in the Rain is probably one of my all-time favorite films. And I think it's because I have a massive crush on Debbie Reynolds. She's just amazing. And so I call her, and somebody answers the phone, and then she says, just 1 second. Debbie Reynolds came on the phone, and I have no clue what she said.
Oh,
it's all gone,
like,
but she did sing. She sang to me. I think she was really drunk when she was as she tended to be at many times, apparently. So she just kind of trailed off into song, as I recall. I really wish I had recorded that phone call. I don't know why I didn't. I think I was just too like, I can't believe I'm going to do this. I'm going to talk to Debbie Reynolds, and so I didn't think about it. Oh well.
Hindsight is 20/20.
Yes, of course.
Question.
Morgan, I run a film night once a month, queer film night, nearby in the City Museum called the Beautiful Project, and we would love to screen this.
Great.
If we can talk about it.
Of course.
Yeah, it would be
yours.
and so it means everyone get.
And they are now, as best as everyone knows, in a bank vault in Hollywood. They've been there for about 10 years.
How
no
much
one's
did
100% sure if they really are there or if he was just appeared.
They showed up in a documentary. They are in a bank vault.
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, no, you're talking about the Hollywood
I
Treasures
think
episode?
they said yes.
Yeah,
and they said
that
they
was
sold
totally
for $2 million.
Yeah, so that was another thing. That was totally created for that show.
Oh,
So
wow.
that didn't actually happen.
Oh.
But they did sell for $2.2 million. But the pair that David bought, he bought them for $666,000, which I think is a wonderfully
That's right.
and he said, if you give me $2,500, I will take you to the bank and I will show
That's
you the
right.
shoes.
You showed that. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I will 100% give you $2,500 if I can get close to your shoes. And he backed out at the last minute. So that probably tells you that he doesn't
He
actually
doesn't have
them.
those. They're not in a bank vault. Yeah.
I'd love to know what Roberta got when she bought them in auction at Christie's.
She got $150,000. So it wound up to being, I think, like 160 something with all the fees and stuff at the end. I forget it.
Right.
168,000. Yeah, for winning a prize.
Winning a prize when she was like
Yeah.
a child. Yeah.
Second prize. Oh, the first prize. It was the gavel from Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Oh, yeah, that's really famous.
No one knows what that gavel is. So.
Someone's probably actually using unicorn.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, right at the back.
Yeah, hi. I guess you're. I know the budget problems of the film like this, and you obviously got clearance to use visual clips from the old films, but obviously not musical songs. So was that frustrating for you?
Very much so. It bothers me like so much that Over the Rainbow is not in there. But that was like they wanted $25,000 just for that little clip, and there was no way. That was the entire budget of the score.
Right.
So like I'd rather have the whole score than that little clip. So I did without it. We amazingly were able to claim fair use on all of the visuals, so I didn't have to pay for any of that. Yeah, it's really incredible that worked out, because when I tallied up how much that would have cost, it was $1 million to pay for all of the clips. And going to my boss and saying, hey, I need $1 million? No way. But yeah, we were not allowed to use music. So music and audio from films is viewed differently than visuals. You can claim fair use on that, on visuals. You cannot claim fair use on music. For some reason in the way that the rights work and everything. So yeah, and technically we didn't even really get the rights to do the Going Hollywood song. That's just in there because I was like, I don't give a shit. Put it in. It's just gonna be what it is.
Who's gonna see it?
Yeah, right. Who's really gonna care? Like, is Bing Crosby's kids gonna go, hey, did they pay for that? No, nobody's gonna do that. So we didn't really care in the end. So I probably should have just put in Over the Rainbow.
Well, maybe they might have
I think
cared
they
about
might
that.
have cared a little bit more.
Lorna and Liza
Were you
are
threatened,
right.
were you threatened at all at any point? I mean, was it quite political? The whole thing?
No, I wasn't. Not everybody's seen the movie. Actually, no, that's not true. I bet you everybody's seen it by now. I mean, I was kind of worried about some people's perceptions of how they think they come off. Michael being the one, obviously, I think that's fairly obvious who I'm talking about. Michael is batshit insane. There's no, whatever. He's crazy. He lives in that apartment.
Yeah.
That apartment has what I would estimate to be $20 million worth of stuff. Easy. So that is the actual tablets that Heston holds in the Ten Commandments. That is a Maltese Falcon. That is a little contested because nobody knows who actually has the real Maltese Falcon.
Okay.
The Maltese Falcon is sold for $4 million. That might not actually have been the real one. There's a whole other story about that one. But he has all of this stuff. It's not insured because he's crazy. And he lives in a museum, and so he is himself an artifact. And he carries himself like that in a way. What he says is 100% true in his mind. He used everything, so he did not steal those shoes.
Right.
None of that stuff. I don't know if that dress he stole from Debbie, I wouldn't surprise me if he did, if that actually is the one that Debbie bought at the auction and he just took it. I didn't want to go so far as to say that he did any of this stuff. I let him kind of do it for himself.
Yeah, because that must have been quite, filming someone like that for a documentary when you just know that they're actually probably lying, or just, not lying, but they believe what they're saying.
And I never
must be
had...
quite difficult. You're trying to get to the truth of something.
Well, no. I think it's fair to say that a documentary is not the truth. And I know that, and I'm okay with that. So whatever this film or the half of the movie that you watched is my version of the truth.
Right.
It's my version of the story that people gave me, and then I edited it and put it together and created another false truth for the story. And so I never walked into this wanting somebody to tell me exactly what the truth was. I wanted the character. And if Michael believes that stuff is true, then that's the truth. That's Michael's truth, right? That's more important to me than the actual truth. Because the actual truth is never as fun as the happiness to begin with. But really, who knows what the truth is? This is all a bunch of guys in the 70s who all wanted something, and they were all fighting amongst each other and doing whatever it took to do it. So who cares what the truth is? That's just more fun to talk about. So yeah, it never really bothered me. I mean, I knew that Michael was lying to me half the time.
Right.
And I knew that other people would tell me what they thought was the truth, and I could juxtapose that back and forth. I never wanted to make Michael look like a liar, and I never wanted to make him look like he was completely crazy. He doesn't come off as crazy in the movie as he actually is in real life. It took so long to get him to agree to do this.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you think that actually someone with all that stuff would kind of want to boast about having all that stuff, or?
I think that he's been burned a lot.
Right.
Because the reality is different than his reality. And so if somebody even shows something that's 10% skewed against what he believes is the truth, then that person is an asshole, and he hates them. And I know that if I sat and watched this with Michael, it would be the worst experience of my life, because he would hate me for it.
Yeah.
And that's fine. If that's the way he wants to perceive it or view it, that's his choice. I tried to be as truthful and honest and treat him with as much respect as I could. I mean, regardless of how crazy he is, he saved a lot of stuff. He did a lot of really amazing things.
Yeah.
And he did a lot of good things. He toured those shoes. He brought them to museums. He brought them to malls all across America. He made sure that people saw the shoes, and that's something that not everybody does with them.
No, well, I mean, some maybe in a bank vault.
Yeah, exactly. So people kind of hoard them, and so there's other people that are doing far worse things with this stuff.
I guess what we've not really talked about, and this might be interesting to kind of like have any of your opinions, but what is it about those shoes? Like,
I don't know.
We don't.
It's really hard to put any word on it. I don't know. I think it's that it symbolizes home, and so that in and of itself is enough for all of us.
Yeah.
But I don't really completely get it, and I don't think it's for me to explain to you what it is to you. That's the beauty of Oz. Oz is such a personal film for so many people that they have such an emotional reaction to it, mainly because it's whatever the perception of it was when they were 6, when they watched it for the first time, and that carries forward the whole time. So I think that is probably really what it is. Yeah. You want to own the shoes because they completely represent that feeling that you had as a child when you watched that movie. And there are few films like Oz that can captivate a child like that movie can. I mean, you show it to a kid nowadays, and they're totally captivated by it. It doesn't matter that it's in 4:3. It doesn't matter that it starts off in black and white or in sepia tone. It doesn't matter that it looks kind of outdated. The story is super connectable. It's exceptionally well told, and the music is wonderful. And so it's timeless. And it has no time, which I think is also important. You know that it's set during the Depression, kind of. But they never really explain that. So it's just kind of a timeless film because of it.
And hopefully, when your film gets, the bank and everything gets sorted out, hopefully your film, I believe, is going to become timeless as well.
I hope so.
And we will do all we can at some way to get this screening somewhere in London again. We're winding up, but I can still see some hands, so we'll go kind of a reverse this time, like a reverse snake. Reverse snake? What? Yeah.
Could you just confirm how many pairs do you know definitely exist and where each of them are?
Sure. Okay. So there are 3 continuity pairs, and then there's the Arabian test slippers. So one is at the Smithsonian. That's the pair that sold at the auction in 1970. They were then donated by the purchaser of those shoes, who is anonymous. Nobody really knows who he is. He wanted to remain anonymous. When he found out about the other shoes, he got kind of pissed and decided to get rid of them.
Right.
And so he donated them to the Smithsonian for a tax break, which, as best as I understand, was far greater than the $15,000 that he paid for it. The pair that Kent owned, which was the Witch's pair, they're all named as well. So, okay, I'll go even deeper. The pair at the Smithsonian, those are the people's shoes. They're the ones for the people because they are at the Smithsonian. There's the witch's pair. The witch's pair are the ones that were on the witch's feet when they curl up. Those are the close-up pair. They don't have any felt on the bottom. That's the telltale sign. The felt was because the Yellow Brick Road was actually made out of plywood. And so when she danced on it, it would make noise, so they put felt on all the shoes, except for the witch's pair.
Yeah.
Those were the best pair, the most pristine pair. Those went to, okay, Kent, to some unnamed buyer in California, to David Eckleby. No, that's not true. Oh my God. I haven't thought about this in a long time, so I don't know the trajectory. Anyway, those ones wound up at the Academy because
They're the
of,
ones that are-
yeah, because of Spielberg and DiCaprio,
Right.
and they paid $2.2 million for them. Then there's the stolen pair, or the traveling pair. Those were known as the traveling pair before they were stolen because that was Michael's pair, and he traveled around with them and showed them to people. Now those are the stolen pair. As best as we know, they're at the bottom of that mine pit in Grand Rapids, Minnesota. They might not be. They might be in somebody's closet. Who knows? They could turn up. They could turn up in Michael's closet.
I was just going to
that
say,
could actually happen.
is that actually
There's a way to test this, but nobody seems willing to do it. The cops found a single sequin at the site. Smithsonian are a mixed match pair. The left shoe goes with the right shoe and vice versa because continuity didn't matter on the set. And so you could actually test the sequin against what is at the Smithsonian. And if that sequin turns out to be real, then the real pair was stolen. But if it turns out to be not a real sequin, then Michael has a lot of explaining to do. But nobody really wants to do that. I really wish they would, though.
I want an episode of like CSI or something to kind of like do that with the sequins and things.
You
That's
could.
another film,
Yeah,
right?
totally.